everybody. Thank you for bearing with us during that whole process. We my computer decided to do an update like right when we are about to go live. So thank you. If you don't know, you should know, but you're here. But this is Marriage Your Third Ring, and my name is Charles.
And I'm LaTia.
And we are Marriage Your Third Ring. And again, thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy day to sit here and talk to us today. So we have a few topics we want to go over today. So we were talking about your why, your marriage why. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And we have some excerpts from our book. A little tongue tied there. We have some excerpts from our book that we're going to be talking about. Some of our couples actually already wrote, so we've already gotten their permission. So we're going to be talking about that. We are going to be briefly mentioning our marriage cruise coming up in December. So stay tuned for all that good information. So yeah, let's go.
I hope everybody's had a wonderful day. Wonderful day. So, as Charles said, we want to start off, and this segment is called Your Why. The reason your why is so important is when you remember the why you do some things, it honestly makes you appreciate it a little more. Sometimes when you've been in a relationship for a while, you've been in a job for a while, you might have been doing, I don't know, even parenting or something for a while. You kind of volunteering, you might be volunteering somewhere. You kind of forget why you started doing it because the busyness of life gets in the way. Even when you are going to church for a while, you sometimes forget your why. When you go back to remember that why, it makes things more worth it. It makes it more valuable because you get comfortable after a period of time, and so you forget the why. CPR, I teach CPR for American Heart Association, and their biggest thing is life is why. Life is why you learn what you learn, you do what you do. So that is why we teach CPR. So when it comes to your why, you might have started, I would say even, I'll put it with going to church, because some of us have been going since we were kids. Mm-hmm. So the why might have used to be because my mom and my grandma told me to go to church, or my dad was a pastor or something. That could be your why you were going. But as you go, hopefully you develop a reason as to why you're still there and you're no longer a child. You know why you have developed your own relationship, your own reasoning. Some people go to keep their kids, to give them a foundation, their children. So that's where we're going when we talk about your why. And in this instance, we want to know your why when it comes to your marriage or your relationship. Why are you married? Why did you get married? Why did you see that person across the room and you went to them or something like that? So what attracted you to them? Your why. And you might have been attracted to them, but then you actually asked them to marry you, or you accepted the marriage request, and it wasn't just, or maybe just because, oh, it was cute. But we want to know your why, because sometimes when you go back to the why, that lets you know why you're here now. So, and I feel like that's so important, and couples need to revisit that every now and then.
So I think we can go ahead and talk about our why. And she's absolutely right, though. Your why is important because it ensures that you're invested in what you're currently in. So if you understand what you're in and why you're invested into it, it makes it that much more valuable to you in the current and in the future. So when we got married, Tia thought I was like a little dork or whatever, I guess. But we talked about our testimony before about how after I told her I loved her, she decided to break up with me, and that was heartbroken. But
you was heartbroken.
I was. My feelings was hurt, but thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that.
What she say?
She said love in the intro. But I know. I was, but she realized she saw my value. I already saw hers. But when we, decided to get married, she asked me why did I love her, or why did I want to marry her? And back in this was like the early 2000s, so we're kind of dating ourselves a little bit here. But I told her like the Common song, it doesn't take a whole day to recognize sunshine, and
But it was so sweet.
so that, but honestly, that's how I felt. Like I knew she was the one for me, and I needed her to know that I was the one for her. And here we are, 20 years later. Well, that was 22 years later, actually. Um, and we still going strong. So that's why we kind of got started. Why I continue, because I'm investing in her future and in her present. And I was there for her past. So that's my why, and I have a vested interest in making and seeing that she does well in life, and I know she has the same for me. So that's my why.
Okay. That's a really good one.
And I love her, so I
Oh,
didn't say it.
that's so good.
But yeah, so that's my why. So it's something that I'll always continue to do, just because I have that vested interest in her.
What part you will always continue to do?
To be invested in
Oh, cause you don't say nice little things like the sunshine and all day. You used to write poems and stuff. That's what's so sweet.
Okay, so I used to write the poems, and I was listening to a lot of R&B back in the day. I don't really listen to a lot of that now, but like, so that's where I got. I mean, yes, you're my muse. You'll always be my muse. But that's where I got like a lot of my inspiration from as well too. So I don't write poems, but I have been more graphically inclined, so I do certain things
Okay.
that I hope you like.
Oh yes. He talking about all the nice little stuff he put on the social media.
Parrish says, so Tia, what's your why?
Oh, that's so good. Don't be putting me on the spot. He said that's our why. I was gonna jump on the bandwagon.
No.
So my why was, so when he told me he loved me and I broke up with him, he no longer wanted to be my friend. And that was not nice.
Nah, I didn't want you to be my friend. I didn't want you to be your friend.
I mean, people like to be my friend. So when he didn't want to be my friend anymore, because I broke up with him, because where I came from, you ain't telling nobody you love them after no couple months or a year.
That's because you from Warren.
I know, you know I got leave my city alone. No, but we go to my city. Look,
y'all got the hot dog shop, so y'all.
But I don't know what I'm doing to y'all. But no, it was because I enjoyed him being my friend. He never pressured me. He knew I was a church girl. He never pressured me to do anything I didn't want to do. And he was just very respectable. At first, I did not like him, and he was a little bit of a nerdy. But it grew up, and I helped him so much. Look how much he's so confident and so nice now, and so just nice and dignitated and stuff. But and he is very cute. But no, he was cute then too. But no, that's why, because he was a good friend, and he was nice and a good friend. And honestly, back in the day, people didn't want to be girls' friends, and they only wanted one thing and all that other stuff. So yes, Charles was reliable. He wrote poems. He dedicated a song to me one day, and I was on the radio, and I didn't even know it. So all the other, and he tried to get up in church and sing to me one day, but I walked.
We're gonna bring that back up.
Oh no. We talked about that last week. I gotta catch the replay. But no, so that was my why, because he was just a good friend, and I miss my friends. So my thing is, if you like I tell people, I don't have to go anywhere with anybody else. Like I can go somewhere with my husband and have the time of my life. So you always have a friend to the end. So if you could be good friends and best friends, and that helps you work through anything that's inside your marriage and your relationship.
Yes, Marvita Gamble, how you doing?
Hey, Marv.
Yeah, that's love. That's love for real.
Yeah, it was because it was different things, and then we learned each other's love languages and things like that. But I think it was the friendship at first for me, and knowing that he was just really nice, and it was a friendship, because that was good. So that was a good base. And then why did we get married? Well, I realized after I broke up with him and then got back with him, First thing you asked her to marry him, I didn't
Pause.
know.
She was not married. She was not pregnant at the time.
Who said it? Ashley?
People have said, yeah, Ashley said that before. She was not pregnant at the time.
I was not. But no, why did I get married? Just because I knew that I didn't ever want to lose my friend. So I knew that we would be friends to the end. So, and I always had somebody to have my back.
Absolutely.
Yes, and the Bible told us it's better to marry than to burn too. So, but no, but yes, that was my reason. So, anybody out there, tell us your why. Anything right now, Charles?
No. Before we continue to deep dive, I did want to talk about our marriage cruise coming up. Just really briefly, and we have talked about it before, but I do want to make mention of this again. I kind of messed it up. All right, so y'all see it on the screen. Okay. Um, I changed some things around. Y'all can see I'm kind of sitting in a different spot than we were last time, but I'll fix that for next time. Anyway, that's our flyer that popped up briefly on the screen. If you go to mt3r.net, you can see all the information in regards to our marriage cruise. I am so mad that did not work out the way I thought it was going to. But our marriage cruise is going to take place December 15th through the 18th. And it's a 4-day, 3-night cruise to the Bahamas. We are asking for only married and engaged couples only. We're going to have a couple social mixer. We will be giving t-shirts, and you'll get like a whole little grab bag of goodies from Marriage to the Third Ring. So it's going to be a good time. We're not going to be taking all of the time for the cruise. We're going to take maybe 1 or 2 days in the evening, I believe, right? I think
Yep.
yes, ma'am.
And it'll be spread out, but
It'll be spread out. So you're definitely going to be able to have time of your life through the entire event. We
on
just
the
ask for
island.
a small portion of your time, just so we can talk about some things for the ICU marriage cruise, and we have some special surprises coming up for you guys. We know that you had at least 4 times in your life. What are these parents talking about? So definitely, it's going to be a time of your life. I believe all the cabins are taken at this point. So if you have not registered, if you are still interested in going, please message Marriage to Third Ring. You can even comment below on this page, or you can email info@mt3r.net, or message us on Facebook or Instagram. We do monitor all of that. So we will make sure that we get the information to you. We will go back to Carnival to see if we can get any more additional rooms. But I did want to make mention of that real quick before we continue on, just to make sure that if someone was interested, we have that information out there.
And the cabin is open. So this is the thing. He announced that it was for married and engaged couples, and it is. But say you are a couple, your children need to come with you.
Oh, yeah.
You can get a cabin with 4 beds in there. You know, you or 3 beds. So the boat is still open. There's still child care on the boat. There's still all activities on the boat. When we're on the island is yours. You can book excursions. So if you got whoever wants to come with you, they are more than happy to come with you. If they're not married and engaged, it's just the sessions itself, and there will be a couple of them. We are having those for the married and engaged couples, but the boat is open. So there's still cabins on the boat, just not in our package. So that's why, because we did it with a certain amount of number. But if you are interested, give me a call and I will work out what I can do, because we want this to be, if this is something you truly want to do, and this is a way you can find your why, because I will segue into that, because sometimes you need to step away to find your why. You, even if you're the only 2 people in your home and there's no children left in the house or anything, you still might need to come out of that area, because if you're at home, you might be cooking, cleaning, just chilling, watching TV. Give yourself a different setting so you can find your why, because sometimes you might not know your why. You might have been married for 5 years and don't know your why. I think 3 years in, he stopped writing me poems. I ain't want to be married to him no more. And but look, we about to 21 years later.
21 years
But yeah, but you might need to step away and find your why. So that is why we do the marriage events. That is why we do the different things we do, because we want you to focus on it.
So some and then kind of actually was talking that kind of had the thought like sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees, especially if you're so ingrained in the busyness of life in the middle of your marriage, and if you're worried about the kids, the house, the bills, everything else that comes along with living this adult life, which is ghetto by the way. I don't know.
What's ghetto? Oh, your adult
Adulthood.
life?
Let's go back like yeah. Marvita said send her the information, but
Marv told me she does not go on water, so I'm
really?
gonna send you the information ASAP, and I will find you a room.
So to the point, Parrish didn't do boats.
Yeah,
and he got on one. So I'm saying if Parrish didn't give him the boat, this man wouldn't even drive over a bridge. If Parrish, I'm sorry, Parrish, to put you up there like that, but you'll have a good time, I promise. But no, but what I was saying, if you're kind of engrafted in the business of life, it's easy to kind of lose sight of your why, of why did I marry her? Why do I continue to be the head of this household? This household is frustrating. The kids going crazy, the dog going crazy, kind of the dog and the cat fight, and all that kind of crazy stuff going on. But when are you able to step back and look at the forest for the trees? You can kind of see like this is the reason why I got married, and a lot of the other things that you're kind of going through in life in adulthood, while it may be important, it's not the most important thing. I remember there was this video on YouTube. This guy was pouring like ping pong balls into a cup, and then rocks, and then sand, and then water, and then all that ended up fitting inside of this jar. But if you start with the water first, you're not going to have room for the sand, the rocks, and the ping pong ball. So you kind of got to prioritize what you're putting in your bucket. And marriage and life is the same way. If you start prioritizing on things that is not the most important thing, you're going to miss out on some of the small things. So with that said, I think it's good to kind of get away, step back, and look at the big picture of things, and then rediscover your why, because you had it at one point. So rediscover your why to figure out what's the most important thing that you should be worried about in your marriage, and focusing on that, and then let the other stuff kind of take care of itself as it comes.
That's good. Charles laughs at me because I tell him I feel like there's a why for everything. So like if somebody is doing something, I feel like there is a why for every single thing. It could be the little thing, and sometimes I go because he'll do something, and I'll be like, but why? And he'll be like, there is no why. There is a why. So I feel like there is a why for everything. And so I'm gonna read. So I'm gonna show the book. So this is our book, and I don't know if they can see it clearly. Charles, you might have to show me where the camera is. So that is our book. Why is my marriage so important to God? We wrote this in well, it had to be about 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
So we have been married for 16 years at this point. So about 4 years ago we wrote this book.
And that book is available on Amazon.com right now.
Oh yes, yep, it's been on there. So this book is good. And it's funny because as Charles was talking, before I went to read something else, it was talking about that you referenced, that was The Light. The song was The Light by Common that you have referenced. Yeah. And we talked about that. So if you ever want to know anything about Charles and Tia, we wrote a lot about it in this wonderful book about how we started. But we wanted to know why our marriage is important to God. And what we did before we wrote this is we decided to get information from some people who have been married. And I'm just going to read a couple. I'm not reading a lot of them, but I'm going to read a couple. One of them, this one says, and this one was from Parrish and Stephanie, who at this time have been married. So Parrish and Stephanie Jenkins, they live in Atlanta, Georgia, have been married for 10 years, and now it's 14. So they have been married for 10 years. It says, the Bible tells us that a man who findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtaineth favor from the Lord. I want to always be in God's favor. The greatest institution is marriage. And in Genesis 2:18, God confirmed this by telling us that man should not be alone, and he put him to sleep and took out his rib and created woman. This was the first recorded surgery. While most men do not reach their fullest spiritual potential here on earth because they do not have their help, and he put that in parentheses, being married to Stephanie Nicole Jenkins was the second greatest decision of my life. I asked what was the first, y'all. That was That was spirituality. So accepting Christ. Um, she adds to me and provides me with what I need and want. An automobile runs best when it is fine tuned, and she fine tunes me and smooths out my rough edges.
Okay, mechanic.
Science has proven men who are married have a longer lifespan, and I'm happy that I get to spend mine with her. And so I told Dallas Parrish study. So that was good. What's your thoughts on that? That was really good. He made some good points because first of all, men, all men should want to get married. You can live longer, huh? Look, but he did, and he prayed that she was his help. So he didn't say that he was just guiding her, but that she was also his help. So this is a very good thing. So good job, Harris. I like this. He didn't even remember that he wrote this thing about 4 years ago, but he did, and I felt like this is good because sometimes when you ask people to go in and search it, these things are good, and sometimes we forget what that person means to us.
And that's kind of what I was saying before. Life just gets in the way, and sometimes we don't know how to move life out of the way to just be a married couple. Um, so it's very good. And he said she smooths him out. I don't know how she's smoothing him out, but
his rough edges. Oh, you
that's
said
good.
you don't know what he's doing?
Yeah.
Why he rough around the edges?
But no, that's really good though. To say that without her I'd be rough, and that's honestly true. Without Tia I'd be rough.
You'd be rough.
Yeah.
He did listen to Lil Wayne when I first met him, y'all. Look. But
Actually remembers that.
somebody said they can't post a question.
Who can't post a question?
So somebody said why it won't let me post a question, but if you go ahead say something, you should be able to type in there. Another one, and I'm only reading this. This one is these ones was engaged at this time.
Yeah.
Now they on the way to number 3 for their child, but they were engaged, but now they married and on the way to child number 3.
Who? Somebody texted that?
Yeah, that was Ashley. So this was Perry and Shakira, and I'm just going to read the top because we did ask them why was your marriage important to God, but first we asked them what did their marriage mean to them, and they were actually engaged and said marriage is a sacred union between a man and a woman. It is one of the most important commitments that you could ever make. It is a lifelong agreement between you and your mates and an understanding that they are now the most important person in your life. Marriage is something you must work at every day. It's a constant effort between two individuals to stay on one accord. Marriage is a bond between two people that should not be torn apart by any man or woman. Marriage is unity, love, selfless, forgiving, and choosing to put your partner's needs above your own. Marriage is a gift and privilege from God that should not be taken for granted. So I feel like for an engaged couple to be able to have that kind of insight on marriage, that's good. Because as life happens, I think about me and Charles being married at 21. You're not the same person you was at 21 when you're 42.
Absolutely.
So things will come along. But if you remember that's a lifelong commitment and that you know that your marriage means something to God and it's bigger than yourself, I feel like it helps the divorce rate from being so high if more people would go back to visit their wife.
Yeah. And again, people lose sight of their why because what is the number one reason for divorce in America? Finances. Or at least that's one of them. I believe it's number one. In any case, though, people just lose sight of what is actually keeping them together. And that's why we call ourselves marriage the third ring. It's not me. I don't have no keeping power to keep her. No,
No.
I have no power, no keeping power. I have no power to keep her.
No, wait a minute. But if I was a cat woman, I wouldn't have to go to work, right? Oh no, I'm just.
So the goal that's finance. But I have no power to keep her. That is something between her and God. I can give my best foot effort to for her to make up her mind, her decision do what I would want her to do, but that's not me. I'm not. This is not a controlling relationship, and marriages should not be controlling. And I think also that's where a lot of people fail because it's not 50-50, it's 100-100. Everybody's giving their all to meet the expected goal in the relationship, and it's not the goal is not for the man to control the woman or the woman to control the man. The goal is to work together in unity. And a lot of people miss that mark because I'm a man. You're supposed to do what I say, dude. No, that's not it. If though you lead in excellence, you'll follow in excellence.
Yep, and if you follow in the right person, so as long as he follow Christ, I'll follow him.
Exactly.
And so, yes, but no, but he was right. I was messing with him, y'all. But when he said he can't keep me, and that's because, and I feel like that is the hardest thing when it comes to marriage. You have two whole different people, two people with their own mindset. And I told y'all before, I would love to be able to read minds. I think that would be amazing if I could read minds. But because you cannot read minds, you have to learn to trust. You have to learn, first of all, to trust God that He will reveal anything, and that you trust one another. And so therefore, you can't keep a grown person. They're not your child. They're not your property. So you cannot keep a grown person, but it's that unity and that willingness to come together.
You alright?
I am. I'm sorry, y'all.
You need some water?
No, I'm good.
I got some water right here.
I'm good. Yeah, but yeah,
Okay.
it's that willingness to come together. So yeah, so that is good.
Yeah, absolutely. Are we gonna
It was just one more, and I'm good. But if anybody on here wants to share, wants to tell us, you two don't bring people on.
Yes, we can.
Oh,
I don't think I didn't.
But
set it
nobody,
up to do it now.
right? But y'all tell us in the comments. Tell us your why. If I haven't read it, tell us if you feel like your why has changed. I think I mentioned before, like when I first met Charles, my why was the friendship. But then as it grows, because you grow and you change, me and Ashley talk about that, vision changes.
Mm-hmm.
So as you grow and you change, then you realize, well, look, now the why is because we complement one another. We're good by ourselves. If I was doing my thing and Charles is doing his thing and we do have separate businesses, we the bomb. But when we come together, we're excellent. And God blesses that unity. And so we have realized over the years, and I tell him all the time, our marriage is bigger than us because too much is given, much is required. And so God blesses our marriage. We have children that you have to look after. We're creating the legacy for them. So as you grow up, your why changes, I feel like. You still have that why, but I feel like you can add additional things to your why. Maybe I should say it that way.
And like she said, as you grow, your vision changes. That's why. Well, she's not wearing her glasses. I don't know how she's reading the book, but both of us have glasses, and you should be able to see a little bit better as you get older. So some of the things I might have missed in the past that will be points of contention that started arguments, I should be able to catch and see those things now, even though I have to wear glasses. So, but that's true though, in especially because you grow together and know each other better. You should have less arguments. There should be less reasons why, she's upset for me about my personality flaws. There should be less reasons why I'm upset with her about hers.
Or you understand the flaws. You understand that maybe something that took place in, my husband don't like to go deep, but something that took place in maybe a childhood, or I'll say my childhood, he don't want to say, but something that took place might be the reason this person acts like this.
Yeah.
So as you get older, you get the why, and then you explore it a little bit. You grow together. You create that solid foundation. Because when you have a solid foundation, then I'm trying to read the question. No, I was trying to read the question because she couldn't post in the chat. She couldn't post in the chat, so I'll ask it in a minute. But I feel like a good solid foundation, you could build on it. If your foundation is not solid, if you got married, I don't want to say for something that was minor. I'll say it this way: you got married to somebody because they was good in bed, and then I always say, what if that person gets a catheter? I'm a nurse, y'all, and they can not longer have sex with you. Then are you still gonna stay married to that person, or are you gonna leave? So what was your foundation? If that was your why, you might gotta think about your why a little bit more. I used to always say the person laying next to you in that bed cannot wipe your behind if you can't. then you don't need to be next to him. So these are the different things. So Charles is caring, Charles is kind. So I don't know. Yeah, he'll wipe my booty if I could, I guess. But I don't no, he wouldn't. But
Well,
no,
yeah,
but
we might pay somebody.
but you know what people need to do for people that need to. You make light of it, but things happen, and you see a lot of different things. You could tell couples that now are older and they couldn't stand each other, and now something happened to one, so now they're stuck in the house together. And so that's why it's so important to remember the why and stick to that why as you grow with one another.
Right. And sometimes you do have to remind yourself, especially if things are a little bit turbulent, you gotta remind yourself. As it says in the Bible, David encouraged himself. So sometimes in your marriage, in your relationship together, you just need to encourage yourself just a little bit.
Yes, and just this little, I'm not gonna read the whole thing. Derek and Marcia, if you go back on our Instagram page, we did a 2020 couples question with them, and on some of these Marriage Mondays, we gonna get some of y'all couples to come on and answer our 2020 questions. We had like 20 questions in 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they have wrote, one of the things they wrote was, our marriage means everything. It is our foundation, structure for our family. It is our safe place, our peace. We are an example to others. We look forward to making mistakes and learning from them. It challenges us to be better. We love the thoughts of growing old together, and we both agree we have no idea where we would be without one another, but we know it would not be as good as it is now. So I feel like that was and that was Derek and Marcia, and at the time of this book, they have been married for 18 years. And so that was 4 years ago. So, and they're still married. So actually everybody that wrote in our book is still married, which is a good thing. So we have a few couples in our book.
I actually figured out how to comment in the thing.
Oh, there she go. She says, I'm a movement by myself, but we're a force and we're together. Baby, you make me better. Okay, Neil. Well, there you go. She quoted a Neil song. There you go. But they actually did ask the question, and Mara said she was gonna pray on the cruise. And God got you, girl. I can't swim either. We gonna beat it together. The question was, so what happens when your wife changes, for instance, in the beginning of a relationship? Your why. Oh, in the beginning of a relationship, your why is because of the person's personality. They have great conversations. They are ambitious and enjoy being around, and you enjoy being around them over time. But the person changes, so the conversations are no longer interesting. They no longer are ambitious, and they irritate you, and you no longer want to be around them. How do you deal with that? When everything that you liked about them is gone, and you no longer have your why? I think that's a good question. Oh, and if it's just not wife, it could be either wife or husband. So if anybody has an answer to that before we answer, why we're thinking of it, give it. So you married somebody, then they decide to change. I would say, I would wonder, for me, I would want to know where the change came from and why. Different things happen in people's relationships that causes certain changes. But so my thing for that is know who you are. Hopefully know who you have before you marry them. But y'all answer the question, but my mind just started wondering. But also, I would want to know why the change is there and try to talk to them about the change. We did a blog post, and if you're on mt3r.net, our blog post is there about willing to grow, I believe. Willing to grow with your spouse. But it talked about, as your spouse changes, are you changing with them? Because, not Remy Ma. It was another girl, Jenny Ma. She was a talk show host. Her husband, after 10 years, her husband wanted a baby. She still didn't want kids.
That one. And
because he wanted a child now, because he was getting older, she did not want the children, so they got a divorce. Your spouse might not want the same thing they wanted. Charles might want something at 40 that he didn't want at 20. But we would need to talk about that and try to work it out. Now, as we know, marriages do end in divorce.
This one,
Yep, go through and grow through. I believe that was it. But as we know, that marriages do end in divorce, because the thing is, it does take two. So if that person is changing and you can't get to the bottom of it, they might be dealing with something. I will always say counseling. Try counseling. Um, Try coaching. I like to say try coaching. That's what a couple that help coach you through.
Yeah.
Before you go to counseling. But if you feel like a coaching ain't working, go ahead and go to the professional counselors that's trained in that area, and hopefully y'all can come back to an alignment with one another.
So one of the things, so
Anymore.
since you brought up that blog post, um, one of the comments we made in that post, it said you need to pray. Pray for strength, stamina, and unity, among other things. Any fight worth fighting is going to be long and exhausting. Giving up in the middle, though, is a surefire way to hit the reset button and cause even more problems. Once you start, you will need the strength to finish. Don't give up. In Deuteronomy 31:6 in the Message Bible, it says, "Be strong, take courage, and do not be intimidated." Don't give don't give a second thought to it, because God, your God, is striding ahead of you, and He's right there with you. He won't let you down, and He won't leave you. So what it's saying here is that that's good. We need to go back and reread some of these blog posts. But what it's saying is that even any fight you can imagine yourself being in, or even ones you can't imagine yourself being in, when you know and have the faith to know that God is right there with you, fighting the fight for you, you don't have to do anything there, but just walk the path that's set out before you. So when things come along where people's mindset changes, as we grow, things should change, but we should be able to adjust as well too.
Yes, and we have a comment from Parrish that says we all should grow and develop and prayerfully together. I'm not the same person I was with my first wife, thank God. And that lets you know right there. So like I said, things can happen. You know, you might think you know who you married, but people could change, because remember, again, you're two individual people. And then, but guess what? That set Parrish up, and now he's been with his current wife for what, 14 years or so. So different times, you know, there's a way of escape that comes around, but we want you to try to pray through it and grow through it.
Absolutely.
Yes. So that that was my main thing, though. And I did have one more thing at the end of that. It's just but it was when we done. So after everything, and if you're watching this later, all I wanted to do is one of the last things after we talked at the beginning of this book, it was a talk it out. And I just want you to write down or consider at least 3 trials you have overcome together as a couple. So talk it over with your spouse, because it says oftentimes in life we tend to look at where we are without considering what we have overcome already. For instance, we had a patch where our finances did not meet our expectations in faith. This placed stress on us individually, as each of us had our own coping mechanism, but also placed anxiety between us over the concern of getting through the difficulty we faced. We decided to keep a notebook of our financial responsibilities for the month and a check off when each one was accomplished. Looking back at this list now, it is really a blessing how far we have come, how faithful God has been to us in our marriage, and the restoration we have witnessed. And so it just says, so that was just a trial that you sometimes don't ever forget where you came from. And could you sometimes you forget the things that you are already overcome, because you be like, oh my God, I'm stressing over this. My counselor asked me one time, because I always have a plan A, B, C, and D. He said, but why? Can you give me a time that you have ever been in a situation that you couldn't get out of?
And she's not going to be able to tell you that. And you heard the question was, he said, but why? She will ask everybody in the world their why, but can't come up with a why for herself.
Yes, because he'd be like, and so the answer was no, because I was like, oh no, God always provides a way of escape. You know, He always come through. He said, but I'm asking you this because you always worried about getting backed into a corner that you won't ever have a way out of, but now you're telling me that you always got a way of escape. So sometimes we forget those things we have overcome,
Absolutely.
Even in our own marriage or even in our own lives. And so that's what it was. Considering that, we want you to be encouraged, and write things down that you might need to accomplish that might be heavy on your mind or heavy on your heart. Talk it over with your spouse. If you be like, this was my why, If I tell my husband, I liked when you wrote me a poem, can you write me a poem?
So this is like the third or fourth time she's mentioned a poem.
But no, because y'all always write poems, y'all. But I ain't seen one in about 18 years. But it was like, if it's something that's heavy on your heart or heavy on your mind, talk to your spouse about it. Communication is key. I'm gonna always tell you to communicate because ain't nobody playing Blues Clues. We used to be like, we're not playing Blues Clues. We ain't finding the paw prints. You better tell me what's going on so we can communicate. Move the big rocks and have a real conversation.
Move the big rocks, and sometimes it is hard to move the big rocks because you never know what's kind of underneath that rock. But she's absolutely right, and I struggle with that myself. Sometimes it's harder to have hard, deep conversations. Just at a moment of transparency for myself that we don't want to deal with the effort and the work to move a big rock. Sometimes it's easy just to bury it, but that's not always a good thing. I know. But
and then Ashley, even to my comment, Ashley said, "Now look, the lady left her husband that she was that she was married to and doing well with, because she didn't want to have a baby, and now she just had a baby by somebody else. But see how her life ended up changing down the line. But so that was still the example, but because you still need to learn how to grow. And now I don't even know if her and the young Jeezy man is married." But yes, but cause I just so I don't even know. But she wouldn't have one with her husband, and now she still had the baby. So sometimes you might want to stick it out and reevaluate yourself if you feeling like your spouse wants something that you don't want. I'm done now.
Yeah.
I was just about to see that comment. Okay, so we appreciate everybody tonight. We hope you learned something. The purpose of this was we really just want you to find your why. We want you to know that your marriage is important, but we want to know why is it important to you. We tell you that it's important to God.
So yeah, actually, since we're both over here looking at the book,
I was gonna tell you to read
the
that
back
part,
of it.
that part real quick, and then we can dismiss it.
So on the back of the book, we did write something, but it says these days so many people are straying away from marriage. Either they don't want it at all, or tried it and thought it wasn't for them. In this book, we wanted to bring life back into marriages for husbands and wives to let you know that marriage is important and it should be to you, and most of all, it is important to God. This book will introduce you to some of the wonderful benefits and blessings that are within marriages. So that is our book, Why is My Marriage Important to God? This is our young faces on the back. That was 4 years ago. But definitely, if you have not a copy of the book, it is online.
Amen. Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. And we appreciate you. And you have a wonderful day. Please catch us next Monday. If you have any topics that you'd like us to discuss, let us know.
So that information will be going out. And if you're interested in joining us on the live, let me know. We'll figure out how to make that happen. But yeah, so thank you all for joining us tonight. This has been our Marriage Monday, and we will see you guys next Monday.
Have a blessed one. Bye-bye.